Alrighty guys, so this is part one of painting my rocker cover on my FG. So if you watched the last video I put out, we tried good old oven cleaner to see if it worked as a cleaner, and it cleaned it up a treat. So now we're going to go on to the preparation side. Now you can just paint them, you can just give them a scuff down and paint them, but I want to make it look nice. And there's a couple of little marks, casting marks around the edge here that can be sanded down. I'll zoom in and show you that in a minute. And just any other little imperfections, we want to give them a quick sand before we prep it for paint, so I'll show you how we do that. Okay, so you can see there, that's the side of the valve cover, rocker cover. If I zoom in and get right close, you can see how it's got where it come out of the casting, like a broken edge mark, and there's some high and low spots. It just looks yucky, yeah? See there as well, where it's come out of the casting. So we're gonna get the file onto that. We're going to file it back and give it a sand. I've got a file, then we'll hit it with 320, then 400, and then 800, and we'll get that back nice and smooth, like the rest of the rocker cover. Just there you can see I've hit it with Scotch-Brite, just a bit of a test spot. So yeah, we'll get into the sanding and prep. Alright, so we're just going to start with the file and gently file these casting marks back. Doesn't need much. And we're not going to go all the way, just whatever we can make. And hopefully the undercoat, when we undercoat this, we'll put a nice thick couple of coats of undercoat on it. And when we sand the undercoat back, it'll come up Mickey Mouse and nice and flat. Okay, a bit of a progress shot. So you can see I've sanded all these yucky spots out. Now they're low spots. So that's going to be taken up with spray putty and the undercoat. So that's just the first stage with the file. So now we're going to hit this with 320 sandpaper and get those filing marks out. But you can see I've taken all those rough casting marks out. And we'll give it a sand. Okay, continuing on from the other day, this is now day 3 of this sanding this bloody rocker cover. It's taken a lot longer than I thought. So the other day I was filing and sanding with 320 this edge here that had blemishes in it, and that's all done now. Just took a while to do. And the next stage after that was to hit the whole rocker cover with Scotch-Brite. It just needed a quick or thorough go over with Scotch-Brite. This is like a medium sort of grade, fairly heavy Scotch-Brite. I've gone over the entire face of the rocker cover with Scotch-Brite, and I'll show you this edge in a minute. It's still got a couple of blemishes in it, and we're going to take that up with the undercoat. I'll just put a couple of thick layers of undercoat, and when we sand the undercoat back, it'll get rid of those blemishes for us. So I think I've cleaned it up really well. It's time for undercoat, so we're going to Repsol it with wax and grease remover, get it nice and clean, give it a blow down with the air blower, and put some undercoat on it. So stay tuned. Okay guys, you can see on this edge, this is where the casting marks I was talking about at the start of the video, they're actually shallow points, hollow points in the edge of the rocker cover there. So I can't obviously sand them out because then I'll end up with dips and highs and lows in this entire edge. So I've left those little bits of grooves there. I've actually sanded them as flush as I can. I've got the sandpaper actually in the groove and sanded that smooth so it's not such a sharp edge, if that makes any sense. So we're going to give it a nice thick coat of undercoat everywhere, and especially a thick coat of undercoat on that edge, and sand it back, and we'll see how we go. So there's one of those shallow, hollow spots that I was talking about. It's sort of hard to zoom in if the camera wants to focus. But yeah, there's one there. You can see a bit of a pit. It's not very pretty, but yeah. It's not that deep, so we'll fill that up with undercoat and spray putty and sand it back, and she'll look smicko. Okay guys, it's paint time. So we've had the rocker cover cooking away here on the open fire, warming it up. It's bloody freezing out here. I'm at my mate's dad's house, and it's pretty chilly up in the sticks where we are, but we've got to do what we've got to do because I'm running out of time before we go away to paint this rocker cover. So let's get to it. I'm going to take her off the fire. Oh, she's warm. Okay, so I'm going to give it the final clean up. I've already given it a really good wipe over with Prepsol and a rag and blown it off again with the air blower. Now this is the final clean and we'll get to paint. Try and get in all the nooks and crannies without taking our little plugs out. Alright, it's looking good. That's the first coat of undercoat, so let's give it another one. That's the last bit of undercoat going on. Stay tuned for the next phase. We're going to sand it and put some spray putty on, and that'll be it, and we'll be ready for paint or colour. Okay, here we are, day I think 4 or night 4, back in the shed at my mate's house. And just on that topic, I want to give a massive shout out to Trev. Good old Trev's let me use his shed here. Got the bloody beautiful Canara in the background. How good is it? So I put some spray putty on the edges that you seen me file at the start of the video, where it had casting marks and high and low spots. So I've put a heap of spray putty on there. I'll try and zoom in if it's going to focus. And you see those spots there. So we're going to give them a sand and hopefully it comes up Mickey Mouse. And with a bit of luck tonight, we'll hit it with colour. Okay, so this is the plastic garnish that goes on the top of the rocker cover. We're going to paint this as well. We're going to paint this gloss black. So we're just going to hit it with the heavy Scotch-Brite. Just going to give it a really good scuff up. I've already given it a quick go. We're going to scuff it up. Give it a really good scuff over. Hit it with Prepsol and undercoat. I've got some proper plastic primer, so we'll give it a hit in a minute. Okay, so we're ready for paint. Now I'm going to use a product that I used on my interior. This is adhesion promoter. It's especially for plastics. It works really well on the interior. I haven't had a problem. The interior's been there for like 2 years now and it doesn't flake. The paint hasn't flaked off. So we're going to use the adhesion promoter first and then hit it with the plastic filler and primer. And I'm just going to see what the texture is going to come up. I haven't sanded all if you have a look at the texture on this, and I'll zoom in a minute. If you have a look at the texture, it's all sort of bumpy. We're not going to sand that out. I'm just going to undercoat it and see what it comes out. If it comes out smooth, beautiful. If it comes out ripply, good, that's good too. So we'll give it a hit with undercoat and see how it comes up. So this is the plastic adhesion promoter. As you can see, it goes on clear. Just lightly dust it, doesn't need much. Done. We'll let that dry for 10 minutes and then we'll give it an undercoat. Okay, it's primer time. Let's hope this sticks. Well, so far so good. That's a light dusting, how it looks like it's going to stick. Okay, this is going to be the final coat of primer. This has come up really well. Looks like it's stuck really well, so let's go. Alright, so this is I think day 4 or 5. The undercoat has come up really nice on the Garnish, so that's had a coat of the adhesion promoter and a good coat of plastic primer. We're just going to give it a quick scuff back with these guys, Scotch-Brite pad. So we'll give the Garnish a quick scuff back and that'll be ready for colour. Now unfortunately we had a bit of a mishap with the rocker cover the other day, and for whatever reason, I can zoom in if it's going to focus, you can see so the undercoat's reacted with the spray putty, or I didn't clean it properly, or something's going on here. I'll show you. See how it's all, yeah, it's done that. So I've got a whole lot of sanding in front of me. I've got to sand all that off and we'll re-undercoat it. Okay, so we've got our Garnish bolts here. We're going to paint them up gloss black. We've got our kevSpec primer. How good is that? Got my own paint. Disclaimer, this is a joke, so don't panic. Look at that. kevSpec's own brand of paint. Okay, it's time to hit the plastic Garnish with a bit of colour. We've got our gloss black trim and bumper for plastic paint here, so it's been undercoated. I've given it a quick scuff down with the Scotch-Brite. Let's see how we go. Please, no more stuff ups. Nope, that's the first light coat. Let's see how we go. Okay, coat number 2. Oh no, with this as well, Mick. Oh no. Oh, please no. Why? Why? What am I doing wrong, man? Oh, seriously? Oh, this is not, why is it? Even worse than before. God, shit. Gotta be those white rags. Yep, same again. Yep. There we go, that's the first coat of colour. Coming up alright, can't wait to see the finished result. Alright, coat number 2. Putting the last coat of colour on now. Okay, we're back to the garnish. So I'm not going to get into the details too much, but this has been a bit of a fail. I'll admit I've failed. I used the right products, but just I failed. It's simple as that. The procedure and too much paint and just I failed. So anyway, it's good enough for now. I'm going to get another one. We're going to put some clear coat on it so I can go on the car, so I can go away, and it is what it is. Kev failed. That's it. Every now and again you have a fail. You got to give in. Alright, I'm getting excited for this. It's time to put some more colour on. I've just done a couple of touch-ups and we'll put some more colour on, and then it's time for some clear coat. See, this is definitely coming up better than the garnish, so let's go. Pretty. Okay, final coat of colour, and then it's clear coat time. I can't wait to see how this turns out. Okay, it's make or break time, clear coat. Let's hope this comes up nice and shiny. Let's go. Alright, we'll give it another coat in a minute. See how it comes up. Okay, last coat of clear. Let's not stuff this up. good. So there you have it, guys. It's come up really well. I did give it a sand with 1500 and then 2000 wet and dry, and a really good hand polish with some nice cutters, and then some nice Meguiar's polish. And look how that's come up. It's come up really shiny and I'm really happy with it. So stay tuned for fitting it. Alrighty guys, you've seen me painting it. Now it's time to fit it. So I'll show you how to change a rocker cover on your FG Falcon, including the gasket. So come along for the ride. Let's fit this bad boy. Alrighty guys, so this is the basic bits you're gonna need. You're gonna need a Permaseal rocker cover set. There's the part number, RC3128K. The kit, including your rubber O-rings and all your little bits and pieces that you're gonna need. Now you're gonna need a small flat blade screwdriver to pry out your O-rings and gaskets, a T27 Torx bit, one of those suckers, T27 for the black Garnish. You're gonna need a T40, I believe it is. T40 Torx bit for the front bolts of the rocker cover. Good old 10mm socket for the other bolts. Some 3-bond high temp sealant and a little bit of rubber grease. I like to put a bit of rubber grease on my O-rings. Let's get into it. Alrighty guys, so the first step, take off your oil cap, take off your vacuum line for the inlet manifold, and it's also a breather, PCV breather, and your other breather up the top here. So just remove them, undo your oil cap. The breather just pops out like so. Undo your T27 Torx bits. All 2, 4, 6, 8 of them. Undo your T27 Torx bits. I've already undone mine. Now you guys that are sort of close to stock, you may have still the original crossover pipe. There's a few hose clamps just to undo the crossover pipe. It's not hard to get the crossover pipe off, and then you'll be up to this stage. Obviously you want to disconnect your factory blow-off valve as well. Removing the breather. Mine's a little bit easier than others. Once you've got your T27 Torx bits off, you can pop the Garnish off. It just comes off. You've got to slide it past this sort of O-ring, this rubber breather. The Garnish is off. I recommend to pop the oil cap back on while you're doing this so nothing falls down in there. Right, with some pliers or multi-grips, there's a little spring clamp to hold the rubber grommet on for the breather. Just whip him off. Put that aside. That just comes off. Alright, now we're up to the rocker cover bolts. Probably a good idea to disconnect your wiring now. For this I just use a little flat blade screwdriver to disconnect the electrical clips. So yeah, you'll be up to this stage. It's time to undo the electrical clips. I'll just show you a close-up. Simply push your finger down on there and it pops off like that. Pretty easy. And then you'll undo the 10mm bolts holding the coil pack down. That's all the coil packs undone. Now we'll just move the undo your VCT cam phaser plugs as well. They unclip the same way. Just be careful with your wiring, guys, because this stuff doesn't last forever. Just try and be careful when you're unplugging everything and moving it to the side. So that'll just move to the side, that wiring loom out of the way. Push that aside. So I've also got a dodgy coil pack bolt there, guys. It's half the reason for me changing the rocker cover. Got a bit of an oil leak down the back here from the spark plug O-ring. A little bit of a leak down there. It's only just sweating out, but that's the reason why I'm changing the gasket and going a different colour. Should look mint in a minute. Right, so now you want to undo these guys, T27 Torx bit, T40 Torx bit, sorry, and your 10mm, hold the rocker cover down, and your cam phaser, they're 8mm. You want to undo those now. Make sure you take the cam phasers out first before you undo the rocker cover bolts and take the rocker cover off. These guys here. Cam phasers first. Sorry guys, I tell a lie. The cam phaser, the 2 or 4 little bolts for them are 7mm, not 8mm. You want to pop them out first before you take the rocker cover off. Be careful, make sure they go back where they came from. The left hand one goes in the left hand side. To be honest, I don't think it matters, but rule of thumb in all mechanics, always put things back the way you found them. Then you can't go wrong. If you're never sure, put it back where it come from. Now, sometimes it doesn't matter with these sensors. One sensor does both sides, but let's not take a chance and put it back the way it came, eh? Gently pry out your cam phase sensors. They should just pop out. One of them's been a bit sticky. Okay, now to remove the coil packs just with a 10mm bolt. Remove your coil packs, they just lift out, as they should. So this guy at the back here is one of my culprits. Hope you can see that. There's a bit of oil on it. You can see just at the top there. Focus, yeah. So that's the spark plug O-ring in the rocker cover that's gone. That's why I'm replacing the gasket. Okay, so we're nearly ready to get the cover off. The rest of the 10mm bolts and your T40 Torx bits. Alright, so you've undone your cam phasers, you've undone your 2 T40s at the front, you've undone all your 10mm bolts, everything else is clear. It's time to get the rocker cover off. Now sometimes you can just give it a quick bash or a bit of a knock. Mine's stuck down, so I'm just going to give it a real gentle pry in the corner. You don't want to damage the surfaces. Just give it a real gentle, there you go, it's just started to lift now. So now that that's lifting, there we go. She pops off. Be careful not to drop anything in the engine when you're removing this, because if any bits of crap drop in the engine, it's not good. So try and be careful when you remove it. There you go. Doesn't look anywhere quite as bad as the one that I bought, eh? So you can see the The Martini oil's doing its job. It's nice and clean in there. A little bit of venting here and there, but you know, pretty clean considering. Alright, so the next stage is to replace all your gaskets. You've got your gasket here. You can see it's all squashed, and I don't know if you can see this properly. Alrighty guys, I thought I'd show you the old gasket, what you're looking at when you're looking for a failed gasket. I'll give it a tiny wipe. I think you can see how it's going to zoom. See how the rubber ridges are all flattened out and deformed? See that? She's FUBAR, so it's all squashed, and obviously you can't feel it, but if I was to try and get this out, it's gone quite hard. Like I have to dig it out with a screwdriver. Yeah, so if you see, I had to dig that out with a screwdriver. It's still, look, the outside one's still a bit rubbery, but the actual, where it seals here, has gone all hard and it's not sealing. It's all, like I showed you before. See how the ridges are all flattened out? Have a look at the new gasket. See how the ridges are all nice and pronounced and high? So, and it's a lot more, see if you can see, it's a lot more flexible. You get this one, if we can even get it out. Yeah, she's really in there. I think this is the factory gasket. You know, the rocker cover's been off a few times, but obviously it's never been changed. And these guys, same thing. See how it's all flattened out? Give you a look at the new ones. There's a new one to the old one, so I think you can see why that is leaking. And it's also even harder than the, you can even hear it's crunchy to try and get out. There we go. I don't know if you can see how it cracked. It's gone all hard. So yeah, that guy is no good. We'll change them all and then we'll get the rocker cover on. Okay, now it's time to fit the gaskets. I like to give it a bit of a clean up before I install any gasket. So I'm just going to clean up this channel, make sure there's no gunk in it. This is where your gasket's going to go. So it's time to start cleaning up all your bolts, all your head bolts, rocker cover bolts. Give them a good clean up. I'm just giving them a bit of a Scotch-Brite and brake clean and cleaning them all up. And then it's time to open up our gasket kit and install our gaskets. Now when I install gaskets, I like to put a bit of rubber grease on some parts. Our Permaseal rocker cover kit here. More of these guys, the spark plug seals. I'll show you. I think this kit caters for FG and BABF. Get a throttle body gasket, not that we're going to use that. But these guys, your spark plug seals, give them a little bit of rubber grease. I use PBR rubber grease. It's brake grease, but rubber grease is rubber grease to me. So let's give this all a clean up and install the gaskets. Make sure you've obviously got the gasket the right way down. It can only go in one way. You'll see how it goes. Don't think we need this guy. This guy's for BABF, the Garnish. For this guy, on a BABF, that gasket will go in here, but on an FG you don't need it. So that gasket can go away. Okay, so I've got all my bolts here. I've cleaned up the bolts. I've given them a bit of a wire brush and I've given them a really light lube with rubber grease. Now we're going to do the same with the spark plug O-rings, a really light lube with rubber grease, and pop them into the 6 holes. Okay, so like I said, just a really light smear of rubber grease on these spark plug O-rings. It also helps them stay in the rocker cover. A little bit of tackiness A little bit of grease on there helps these guys stay in the cover. So install these. They just sit in there. Don't have to really. Yeah, and they sit a lot higher than the they sit a lot higher than the old ones. So the old ones were no good, all squashed up and hard. So that's the spark plug seals installed, all 6 of them with a little bit of rubber grease. We're now going to fit the PCV valve breather with a little bit of rubber grease. That is way too much. Just need a light smear, guys. You don't need to cover it too bad. And a bit of grease also helps it to go in. That goes in. Hopefully the O-rings stayed in. Yes, they did. Alright, we'll put the gasket in now. Now this is going to be a little messy trying to get a little bit of lube on this, but we'll do what we can. Just a light smear of rubber grease on it. Alrighty, so we've just laid our rubber gasket down. No tricks to it, just sits in the groove, make sure it's all nice and even. Press it in firmly, not too hard. And we're ready for reinstallation. Let's do this. Now before you reinstall, guys, give the surface a quick clean up. So all around here where the gasket's going to sit, all around there, all around there, all around there, all around there, all around there. Give that a bit of a, I like to use a Scotch-Brite pad, just give it a quick scuff and then clean it with brake clean and you're ready to put the rocker cover back on. Don't forget your little spark plug holes either, clean all that up. Okay, so we've got our surface nice and clean. We've given that a scrub down with the Scotch-Brite pad. As you can see, it's beautiful and clean. Given it a bit of a brake clean. Same with these guys, the spark plug seal holes. You see they're pretty good. Had to give these front couple a bit of an emery to get them to come up. So we're all nice and clean. Now next stage, you want to put a real small smear of silicone. Just see where the timing cover meets the head. Just the smallest amount of silicone, 3-bond. This is this spot here on the gasket, if I can show you properly. So these, see, if it's going to zoom, see that spot there? That is where the timing case and cylinder head meet. So you've just got to put a little bit of goop on there to make sure she seals. Okay, final step is to clean these up ready for installation. So these 2 seals here get changed and they literally just slide off like that. And then you're left with the sensor. You can slide, see this little bit of yucky stuff here. I'm going to give that a quick emery. See a little bit of the yucky gunk. Give that a quick clean up and we'll put the new seals on. So same thing with these guys, just a little bit of rubber grease on the rubber seal and anywhere it's going to seal, not too much, just a little bit of rubber grease on these guys and they just slide over the phase sensors, cam sensors. They're actually phase actuators, I believe. Okay guys, so just a real small smear of 3-bond on that where I was showing you before, where the timing cover meets this, just a little bit, just like that. Probably even that's too much. We'll even it out in a minute. Just a little bit here. That's all you need. Just a small dab. We'll smooth it out a little bit. Same with this guy. That's all you need. Okay, so we've got all our surfaces nice and clean. We've got a little bit of 3-bond where our timing case meets the head. The gaskets are in and lubed up. The spark plug seals are in and lubed up. Let's fit this rocker cover. I've got clean hands, so I'm going to be as careful as I can not to scratch this or make a mess of it. Let's not drop it. Alright. There we go, she's on. Okay, top tip, I had a little bit of trouble putting that on. Be careful with the rear part of the gasket. It wants to, as you're fitting it, it's real close to the top of the rocker gear, and I accidentally just nicked it as I was fitting the rocker cover over the back. It must have just touched the gasket's fallen down and then fallen inside, so I had to remove it, refit the gasket. So just make sure you press that gasket in nice and firmly, and when you're sitting it down over, that you're real careful not to knock or dislodge the gasket as it's going down. But she's on and looking wicked. So now just reverse the process of removal, reinstall the bolts, reinstall your cam sensors, reinstall your coil packs and all your wiring, and you're good to go. And guys, whenever you're installing pretty much anything, especially anything long and skinny like this rocker cover, it's a good idea to follow the old process of start in the middle and work your way out. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start on the center bolts, almost like when you're doing head bolts. I'm going to start on one, crisscross, and slowly work my way out. Just nip them up by hand, and now we'll go over and talk them to kevSpec. You know I don't talk things to spec. I talk it to kevSpec. I don't know, probably about 12 Newton meters, I reckon. Sounds about good. I'm not going all the way yet. We'll just nip them all up. Alrighty guys, you may have seen, I'm not sure if I was recording when I was doing up the rocker cover. I actually snapped the bolt off. So like I was saying when I was doing the bolts up, doing them in that head gasket sort of manner where you start in the middle and work your way out. Obviously I wasn't doing it good enough, or we think possibly one of the bolt holes had a little bit of oil or liquid in it, and what that causes is the bottom of the bolt will actually, what's called hydraulic. If there's oil in the hole, when you go to do it up, the oil's got nowhere to go, so the bolt hydraulics and snaps. So hopefully it won't happen again. I've cleaned it all up. I've raced down the wreckers with half an hour to go and get some more bolts. So let's throw this back on, and this will be the final time. More around the back of the valve train area. Yeah, just around that area, yep. No, where you were. Torch. So now she's on, you just want to make sure the gasket hasn't folded under anywhere, or it's all sitting nicely. Typically at the back, I had a bit of an issue last time where the back of the gasket wanted to fall down and it folded under. Alrighty guys, it's on and no snapped bolts. So I do believe I mucked up and didn't check my bolt holes, and that was the reason it snapped. Or this rocker cover's been off probably 6 or 8 times in the last 10 years, you know, head bolts back in the day. I've had a cylinder head replaced, I've had camshafts replaced, I've had timing gear checked when it wasn't running right, I've had the rocker gear off twice to check timing gear, so it's been off probably 6 or 8 times. So in all that, it might have been over tightened once, and yeah. But anyway, she's on and looking wicked. Now's the time, like I said, just reverse your process. Coil packs, wiring, oil cap, breathers, and then it's time to put the garnish on. Alrighty guys, nearly all done, all the wiring's done. So like I said, just reverse what you did in to start with. Put your cam phasers in, do them up tight, put your wiring on, your coil packs. Make sure you follow the route that the wiring went on the rocker cover. There is a special way it goes. Time to put the garnish on. Maybe. Alrighty guys, here's the end result. A bit of a late night last night after snapping that bolt and running to the wreckers, and yeah, we ran out of sunlight to finish the video. And yeah, I know it's a tiny bit bluer than the car. The colour match isn't perfect, but it's come up real nice. Have a look at that. Just depends on what light you get it. You know, that light it looks great, the colour match is great. In certain light like that, it looks bluer, but that's the nature of the beast of this silk colour. And like I said guys, we had a bit of a win and a bit of a fail. So the rocker cover come up mint, the garnish not so mint. I'm going to have to admit defeat on that one. I might try again, or I might get a mate to paint it, but you can probably see it's a bit blotchy. It's just crap. Kev failed. I spec-o'd it. But anyway, look at that. Bloody mint. Oh well, we had a win and we had a fail guys. Like I said, I'm no painter. This is the kevSpec channel. Like I say, it's not right, it's not wrong, it's kevSpec. And unfortunately the garnish has come up kevSpec, but we'll give it another crack, or I'll get someone to paint it and it'll come up mint. So I hope you liked the video. It was probably a bit of a long one, and I hope you enjoyed it. It's come up mint. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. You!
I wish we could put these bloopers in. Oh god. Alright, hurry up. Alright. Shut up. Don't laugh. I was about to start. Don't laugh because you'll put me off, eh? Alright, stop. Because I'm about to start, so don't stop laughing. It'll fuck me up. This is hard to do now. It's very quiet out here, Michael. Alright, this is going to be a very long intro for a fucking 30-second bloody